Have you ever noticed this before? You're in the gym training with your friends. You're pushing the same weights, putting the same effort. You're eating the same amount of protein. But somehow, your shorter friends are bigger than you. His arms are fuller. His chest bigger. His shoulder looks rounder. Meanwhile, you're just standing there and thinking, how is this even possible? Why am I working just as hard and not look the same? Trust me, I know exactly how it feels. I've been there, done that, and started in the same position. As a tall lifter myself, I start to ask myself the same question many times. But today, I'm gonna explain exactly why this happened and why it's not as unfair as it seems, and how you can maximize your gains no matter what height you are. Let's get into it. What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna talk about one of the biggest illusions in fitness: height and muscle. Because whether people want to admit it or not, height absolutely changes how your muscle looks. Now, before anybody gets offended, I'm not saying that one height is better than the other one. Not at all. I'm simply explaining how two people can have the same exact amount of muscle, but look very different. Once you understand what I'm about to say, you will stop comparing yourself with people around you and start focusing on what actually matters. Let's start with shorter lifters. If you're a shorter guy, I have some good news for you. Your frame naturally creates a muscle building illusion. Think about it this way. Imagine you have 10 pounds of muscles. Now imagine placing these 10 pounds of muscle and spreading on a smaller skeleton. Everything becomes more compact. Everything appears thicker. The muscle has less space to spread out. As a result, bigger looking arms, fuller chest, rounder shoulders, and thicker legs. That's why many shorter bodybuilders can look absolutely massive, even if they weigh less than a taller person. Their muscle is simply compressed on a smaller frame. And that's not the only advantage. Shorter lifters usually have shorter limbs, which means the distance they need to move a weight to point A to point B is also shorter. For example, on a bench press, a shorter lifter may only move the bar relatively on a shorter distance. A taller lifter, on the other hand, with longer limbs, will need to push the bar on a longer travel distance. More distance, more work, more energy. This allows shorter lifter to gain faster strength in many movements. Not necessarily because they are stronger, but because their mechanics are more favorable. Now let's talk about the struggle of being tall that I know way too well. Because yes, there are challenges. Long arms, long legs, long torso, and a longer frame. All of this means that your muscle get distributed across a larger frame and a big area. Think about filling a small glass versus a bigger bucket. Pouring the same amount of water in the small glass on the bigger one will create a completely different visual. This is exactly how muscle works. You might have the same amount of muscles as a shorter person, but visually you look smaller, flatter, and overall less filled out. And when it comes to lifting weights, things becomes even more challenging. A taller lifter must often move the weight throughout a much greater range of motion. Squat, bench press, rows, deadlifting, everything requires more travel distance, which means more work, which means more fatigue, which means great energy expenditure. That's why many tall lifters, they feel like they're fighting constantly uphill. Here's where many tall lifters get truly frustrated. They compare themselves to the shorter lifter. Big mistake, because you're comparing two completely different structures. You don't need to look like the short guys. You need to look the best version of you. I saw too many short lifters quit before things are about to get interesting. Because here's the thing that nobody tells you. Taller lifter often looks just like average people. And they keep getting average and average and average until suddenly they look massive. But that's the kicker. Because once a taller frame finally fills out, it creates an incredible visual impact. And this is where tables turn. Once tall lifter building enough muscles, they often create a physique that is incredibly impressive. Wide shoulder, huge frame, long muscle bellies, and overall just a powerful presence. When a tall guy fills out his frame properly, it doesn't just look muscular, it looks enormous. This is why some of the most impressive physique that you ever seen in bodybuilding and fitness comes from taller athletes. The journey takes definitely longer, but the payoffs can be huge. So, you're probably asking yourself the question then, if you're a tall lifter, what should you do? Simple. Just stop chasing shortcuts. Focus on the usual suspect. Progression overload, getting stronger over time, adding weights, adding reps, improving performance. That's the first thing that you should do. Second, eat enough food, of course, because trust me, I did the same mistake. Most tall guys underestimate how much food they actually need in order to build muscles. Your frames requires more muscles. More muscles requires more calories, and more calories requires more consistency. And third, be patient. You're trying to feel a larger structure. It takes time. You will stay in a leaner bulk for longer, and train hard. Stay consistent and trust the process. Now, on the other hand, if you're a short lifter, don't think that you're guaranteed to success automatically. It doesn't work like that. You still have to do the work, and you still need progressive overload, enough protein, enough calorie, enough recovery, and enough consistency. The difference is the smaller amount of muscle gain are often noticeable, especially in arms, chest, and shoulders. But long-term growth still follows the same rules: hard work, patience, and consistency. Visually, you will achieve it faster though. But I want to leave you with this. At the end of the day, your height is not your limitation. Your genetics are not your limitation necessarily. Your bone structure is not your limitation. The real question is, are you actually maximizing what you actually have? Because whatever you're tall, whatever you're short, your body still responds to good training, good nutrition, recovery, and consistency, no matter what. Stop comparing yourself to people around you. For the love of God, stop doing that, and stop wishing you will have someone else's genetics. Stop focusing on building the best version of yourself, because that's the only physique that truly matters. That's all I got for today, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash the like button, to subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments, are you team tall or team short? And what has been your biggest challenge in your fitness journey? Let me know. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Ciao belli!